This is Alcohol Freedom Finders, and this week we've had the pleasure of talking to Tony Fields, the creator and founder of PH7 Performance, which is a members group for men who want to live better and be better dads at home. And who needs to be an alcoholic to stop drinking? What about just wanting to be a better version of yourself? So we're going to be diving into that with Tony, and we can't wait to see you there. So, welcome everybody to the Alcohol Freedom Finders. I am super excited today because we have with us Tony Fields. He is the creator and founder of PH7 Performance. He's also created a community for driven dads looking for a better quality of life. And I'm super excited to hear about that and what you're doing for those lucky men.
Thank you for the invite. It's fantastic to be with you both. Look, I've formed that community because I think we're all at the moment just so busy. We're most of us are working longer than ever before. We're constantly switched on. We're struggling to juggle our business lives with our family lives, and our kind of health and well-being often goes out the window. And I created this because I didn't want to form another business community. It was for business people, but actually who wanted to be a better version of themselves at home. And they wanted to kind of be that dad that they know they're capable of being. They want to start prioritizing their health and well-being and actually to be more present and spend less time online, more time reconnecting with what matters. So yeah, that seems to have struck a chord with quite a few of the people who have joined my communities.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, nice to meet you, Tony. So tell us, how did you come to this realization? Is it something that came to you self first, that you thought, okay, I need to focus more at home rather than just on my work, or tell us about how you came to the idea.
Yeah, no, it started about 5 years ago when I left a corporate career, ran my first business, and desperate for that to succeed. I'd always wanted to run a business, but I was quite an obsessive person, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and externally it always looked great. People would look at where we lived and our family and the business, and I had a decent sized team at that point, and it looked great, and the pictures were great online, but internally it was pressure, it was stress, it was anxiety, I'd get home and be, if I'm honest, like a shadow of myself. I'd take out my frustrations on my kids. And so that's kind of where this started. And I initially formed a coaching business, and I've worked with lots and lots of driven dads. And what I found was when you connect the right people together, people who get it, like people who are equally driven to be better at home than they are at work. I found the guys started inspiring each other. And I did it initially as a pilot 18 months ago. I just reached out to some old clients and said, you know what, how about spending some time with some other people and being part of a community that's not a business community, but it's about being better for yourself. And some of my old clients were up for this, and it's grown in ways I didn't expect, actually. We've hosted retreats, we've had a lot of experts in the areas of sleep and breath work and lots of interesting areas. And I've just started to realize that we need more spaces for these conversations. And one thing that comes out quite a lot is a lot of my members tell me, I don't tell my closest friends of 25 years what I tell members in this community about what things are really like. Mm. And that's not what, to be honest, I didn't expect that, but that's what's happening. And I find that quite powerful.
It is super powerful. And actually one of the kind of fundamental principles of Annie Grace's work, which is where we started in her affective liminal psychology theory, is this concept of we need three things to be present for change, which is the emotion-based change. That's where we change those subconscious beliefs. The second part is relationships. We need to find our tribe and our community. That's a key element, and that's what you've tapped into there. And lastly, we need to also have this hearing from a position of authority. And that's what you've also set up for your gang. You're getting people to come in that speak from authority so that they can put together the emotions and the belief to change into being super dad.
It's interesting to hear about. It makes a lot of sense to me.
So in that process, and maybe speaking a little bit more to why you stopped drinking in order to be the super dad yourself, what was one of your biggest struggles and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, look, good question. I think for me, I mean, I dabbled at this initially probably 15 years ago, actually. I remember initially recently being made single or becoming single, um I'd be like, I'd live two lives. I'd be this professional bloke in the week, quite a good job, and then at the weekend I'd be different, and I would drink too much, and I'd kind of always just deep down I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have, and I was like wrestling with these two personalities. And so 15 years ago, I actually, after a holiday where I went away with a few friends and drunk too much, decided to go alcohol free for a year. So that was when I was about 30, and I did that for the first time, and I was single, and I played a lot of sport, and I was around a kind of that sporting drinking culture. So I just wanted to test myself. Then I did start drinking again, kind of 12 months later, not excessively. And probably in the last few years, I haven't been a big drinker for quite some time. I would tend to socially at events, I think I'd prefer to have something in my hand to fit in. And I just got into this habit of Friday nights, finish work. What do? You have 2 or 3 beers. And then what happened to me was I would wake up, and I've got 4 children between the ages of 4 and 10. So you can imagine a Saturday morning, they want to see dad and they've not seen that much in the week. And I just wouldn't sleep as well. I would have a bit of a headache normally. And my attention span was just a little bit less. So what did I do? Hand on heart, I'd want them to probably go on a device of some description. And so it wasn't like a massive realization or a huge overnight experience where I reached rock bottom. It was just, I just had a look in the mirror and thought, you know what, that's not the dad I want to be, because I'd feel guilty every Saturday. I'd feel like I know I should be giving them more attention and presence, but I wasn't.
I can completely relate to that. I mean, I went through it was very similar sort of scenario with my kids. It was dad was on duty Saturday, Sunday, and we watched an awful lot of Disney movies and things on DVD when the kids were young. And I mean, it took a while for me. I mean, I did feel guilty, but it just didn't seem like there was a way out. That culture just sort of meant you drank until someone told you were an alcoholic and you had to stop. And how did you sort of come up with the courage to sort of make the change yourself?
I mean, I was in a...
Did it feel like a sort of cultural thing?
I definitely feel there was that expectation to fit in. I mean, it was November 2024, and I was part of a different community, and I went to Florida on a business trip, which you can imagine at home. My children were quite jealous of me going to America at that time of year. And I paid a lot of money to go. I made a lot of sacrifices to go. And that first night had a few drinks because that's what everybody was doing. And the next morning I woke up and I just slept rubbish. I didn't have a clear head the next day. And I was like, I made the decision there and then. I was like, I've just paid all this money to go to Florida to better myself, to better my business, to hopefully create a better life. And I don't feel great, and I've self-inflicted. And I only had 2 or 3 drinks. I wasn't up all night or anything like that. So I just came home and decided there and then, that's me done. It's just small. It wasn't a big thing. It was just a small thing, but I just thought, no, it doesn't work for me anymore.
I just love that. And we were chatting earlier before we pushed record, saying that there's this realization now that you don't have to be an alcoholic to stop drinking. Maybe it's just you notice that kind of disjoint. And I certainly did. I know Barry did too. Like, I was the girl that got the kids off to school, went to the gym every day, got the housework done, got the part-time job done, or even going into the city and still working, come home, cook the dinner. But to cook the dinner, because I was so knackered, it would be with a large glass of wine or two. And then I'd wake up feeling a bit, and at the weekends you drink more because, oh my God, it's the weekend, thank God for that. But I knew somewhere in the back of my psyche that it was two lives batting against one another. That actually what I really wanted to do, more than anything of all, was I wanted to wake up feeling fresh. I wanted to wake up with energy. And I wanted to wake up with one of the things that you were talking about, Tony, a sense of presence. I wanted to be present, not just as a mum, but as myself. I wanted to wake up feeling fresh. So what would you say to someone who's looking to join your membership or looking to make that decision for themselves? What sage words would you say about getting on that journey?
I mean, often people who join my communities say, I want to be the best version of myself. That's the word that comes up all the time. And all of their focus has often been on the business and on their career. And I think there's this notion that I work hard today to provide. A lot of my members are providers. They're the main breadwinner and they're great at providing, and they perceive their role is provide financially to hopefully retire 10 years earlier or 5 years earlier than planned. And look, that's what my dad aspired to do. And he worked in a pretty stressful sector, banking. And sadly, within 18 months of retiring, died and didn't get to enjoy that. And that's just sad, but so common. So I think my members come to that realization, and it often happens around that midpoint in life where they think, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to wait. I want to seize the moment. I want to make some better choices. And it's not through lack of effort normally. It's often through, it's hard. It's hard to do make these decisions on your own. It's hard to give up alcohol on your own. It's hard to be consistent with your exercise on your own. It's hard to switch off consistently at a reasonable time on your own. So they kind of seem to be attracted with that sort of the fact that they're belonging to something and they're all committed to being a better version of themselves at home.
That's really good. I mean, I like that. That idea of being the better version of yourself, and also that it does come to you. Well, it came to me as well, sort of midlife. That idea of actually, no, I'm overweight. I'm drinking too much. I still in 2013 when I sort of first started, I was still smoking. Kids were sort of about 10 years old, and I worked really hard and felt like I needed these things to relax. And it started to I started to realize that actually by not taking care of myself, I was having to work harder in the mornings, and you just sort of, it was the downward spiral. And when you start taking care of yourself and start feeding yourself better, and you start exercising, you start sleeping, and you all these artificial dopamine stimulants, try and get them under to a manageable level, the benefits are just, they're not immediate. We sort of talk about that with dopamine, it's very easy to find a switch to turn on the dopamine and open your phone and find something funny some scrolling to do, or smoke a cigarette, or eat a donut, or have a drink. All those things are very quick fixes. But if you can find the sort of seeds that earn your dopamine, do something that will actually have a lasting effect. And Justine's great with this, and I'm sure that this is part of the things that you're doing with your community, the sort of the meditation, the breathing, the ice exposure, and all the things that take us back to our ancestry of the way that our survival instinct was supposed to stimulate dopamine. It's you realize, oh yeah, that's much more healthy, and it's hard, like you say, it's harder to do, but that sort of delayed gratification is so much better for you and so much more enjoyable when it comes. So tell us a little bit about the things that you do in your community with the guys. What are your? I know that Justine's going to come on and do a session with you. What are you going to do yourself, Justine, for Tony?
Well, we are going to talk about how this belief change works with the methodology we use. But I'm going to start by going through a Yoga Nidra style meditation. And for those that don't know what Yoga Nidra is, it's that non-sleep deep rest. So by taking the brain waves into that relaxation state, that switching off that work busy brain, which lots of us have, you're able to be in a more receptive state to change. So, and calmer, and your nervous system gets back online. So literally, it's almost like a little exercise in proving how you don't need alcohol to make that gear change. Perhaps a little 10-minute Yoga Nidra would do that same thing. So that's what I'm going to do with the members.
And that's we've had a
Great.
few other experts come in previously, and I'll be blunt. 5 years ago, I was not open to these techniques. Genuinely, I'm not open. I kind of would have thought of meditation as someone with long hair, much longer hair than me, sitting on a yoga mat and probably in Bali. But what's encouraging is I've kind of seen the impact of some of these things, and my members are now open to these practices. And I would say typically a lot of them are heightened. So we're all day in that response mode. We're getting distracted and we've got loads going on and we feel like heightened. And a lot of them are also kind of time poor. They kind of think that they don't have enough time and they're juggling so many things. And so these practices, these techniques, we've had breathwork experts, we've had some folks on meditation, we've had the GP founder of the Sleep Project come on recently. You mentioned sleep a bit earlier. Actually, look at this is so basic, but we've forgotten how to get good quality sleep. So this fits so perfectly into what we're doing. It's really about us. If we can, it's inside out. If we can become calmer, actually reconnect with what matters, strip things back rather than add more to our plate, really commit to our well-being and exercise, make better choices at home, or better boundaries, then the business takes care of themselves. But also you feel better, right? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that session. That will be very well received by the group.
Me too. And harping back to that word you said about feeling better, I just wanted to ask you around how does it feel now to be the guy that wakes up fresh on a Saturday morning, and how did it feel to be the guy in your heart of hearts that woke up having to kind of through?
I mean, if I start with the latter, I genuinely would often feel a bit guilty. I'd feel guilty because I'd say to myself the night before, it's only one or two. That's okay. And I'd convince myself that it's only one or two. And then I'd even probably be in I kind of make excuses the next day. Initially, I'd sort of find myself saying, but I only had one or two. I didn't do what these other people do who go out and have 10 pints in a Friday. I wasn't even doing that. But I still felt guilty because I knew I've created this, and it wasn't like this for me. It wasn't like an instant change overnight. I stopped this and slept like a baby, and it was all perfect. It took a bit of time, but I think the biggest thing was probably pride. Actually, it was, and my children now, and I know they're young and they'll probably experiment like all children do, but they kind of lead by not what we say, by what we do often. And I'd say we're doing a lot more together. We're doing a lot more outside. We've actually just signed up to climb Ben Nevis, the biggest mountain in the UK, in 6 months' time. And with my boys, he'll be 9 and 11. So we're just doing a lot more like fun outdoor things that we just didn't do as many of those things previous. And so but I would say overall, it's just a kind of pride, really. I'm proud of these decisions I'm making, and they can see that as well, and it's rubbing off on them, and it's never as bad as you think. It's not been I don't know, I built this up to be like this huge thing, and how am I going to feel? And of course the first few weeks are a bit of a mental battle, but nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. And if not, actually much, much better. So, I don't really miss it, in truth.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear. I mean, and that's the thing that is so hard to believe for someone who's still drinking and wondering what life might be like without it, because you just and naturally assume the imagery we're given is, well, you've got to be at rock bottom, or you've got to be the brown paper bag in the park kind of guy and have lost it completely. If you're going to stop, that means you can't control it. You can't have the right amount. And we don't talk about that with anything else. There's no sort of right amount of cigarettes or a right amount of cocaine to be taking or these things. It's when you boil it down, it's a poison that our liver will help us get rid of. And actually it isn't good for you. And it gives an illusion of being, for whatever reason, it triggers dopamine and gives you that sort of 20 minutes of feel good. But the science is really helping us now by showing that actually you can watch what happens to people. And a drink will give you 20 minutes of buzz, the thing that we like about it. But then it'll give you 2 or 3 hours of your body fighting it with cortisol and with lots of other hormones that basically bring you down. And so they lower your baseline, and you're left with feeling worse and feeling more anxiety in the morning. And so everything that we wake up in the morning with that sort of regret and anxiety and feeling generally crappy. And unfortunately, the trigger is still there to think, oh yeah, but you'll feel better if you have a drink later in the day. You swear you might not in the morning, but then by the end of the afternoon, the dopamine is a sort of is as much a reward as it is, or as much a reminder and a sort of motivation to do it again. And so it's a difficult thing to sort of get yourself out of. So you need to take that break and sort of see it for yourself and almost sort of psychologically wean yourself away from it. But when you could start to see it for what it is and start to see the positive effects of not drinking, then when you get to for at least for me, I haven't drunk for since, what was it, 2018. So it's quite a while now. And I look at it and think, gosh, what a waste. And I wish I'd stopped much earlier, because I see it for what it is now. It's an illusion. It was always taking away more than it gives. But yeah, no, it's great to hear success stories, and it's great for people to understand that, yeah, if you give it a try, then, it might not be as bad as you think. And actually, after a while, it'll go, oh yeah, actually all the benefits that make it really, really worthwhile. Have you approached it with the guys in your group? How do they look at drinking?
I think, there are plenty in my group who did a dry January. A lot of people do a dry January, and I have a member who hasn't drunk for probably about 9 months. We're going to be addressing it properly in 10 days' time. Okay, so we've been addressing quite a number of things, and I've been kind of dropping this in that so I'm building this up. It's a conversation I'm looking forward to, but it's just another good example of I want to be a better version of myself, and there's a number of things we can do that are going to help us to have more energy, have less headaches, want to do more stuff with our family, which is why a lot of the guys are there. So I'm certainly not going to be. I just want to open a conversation and sort of have a real and kind of get into why people do it. And one thing that came to my mind when you were talking just then was I used to associate drinking with certain things. So I remember we're 12 years married this year, our 10-year anniversary. If we rarely would go away, but when we go away, I used to think, oh, it's nice to have a drink. A bit like on a Friday night, it's nice to have a drink. So I'd associate having a drink. And I remember on our 10-year anniversary going to Spain, and it's the first time we'd been away without the kids for years, and having a couple of drinks again on the first night, because that's what you do. We're together. And I didn't drink for the rest of the trip, the remaining 2 or 3 days, because I just felt lousy. And I was like, what? That's just what I've been accustomed to. It's what I've done. It's like a habitual pattern that's been ingrained in me and probably a lot of people. And I had to challenge that. And we talk about these types of ingrained patterns in my group quite a lot, actually. So why do I have to go away and do something that's going to make me feel have less fun ultimately for the most of the trip. So it was challenging things like that I found quite powerful, because they're just patterns. We just do what we're familiar with, don't we?
100%. And as A-type, perfectionist, driven personalities, we think that we're going to be the ones that can work out the right amount of alcohol that's going to create this perfect life. We were told that alcohol is included in that. We're marketed that. The advertising is everywhere. It's on holiday. It's at celebrations. Okay, so what is the right amount to drink on my trip, my 10th wedding anniversary, in order for it to tick all of the boxes? I'm very good at what I do, so I've got to tick all the boxes. What is the right amount? But we know now that alcohol actually doesn't equal fun, because when we wake up in the morning, we feel worse than when we started. And as Barry said, all it's doing is creating a need for itself. So the work that we do is actually start to uncover, why is it that we think we are getting a benefit from alcohol, and why do we want to stop? And when you look at that balance sheet and you realize one by one, all the things that you are getting from it are in fact, as Barry says, an illusion. You're left with, hang on a minute, I've been duped. It's not what it's all it's cracked up to be. And I'm not that guy or girl. I want to wake up on my wedding anniversary in Rome feeling bloody great. And actually, Nick and I, my husband and I, have realised that I don't know about you guys, but when you get on holiday, wherever you get to, whichever it's a bar or whatever you get to, you go, I want that first drink. It's just that first drink, that first sip of that first drink, the cold yum. So we actually love our alcohol-free beer, and we had noticed that it's the event, not the substance, that's causing that triggers that kind of dopamine rush. It's like a really cold alcohol-free beer, that first 3 gulps does exactly the same thing for my brain now as probably the alcohol did all those years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the treat that we're looking for, and the reward that we're looking for, and the escape that we're looking for, and all those things. And when you realize, actually, well, it does give you that briefly, but then it takes away more. Then you can start to think, people are worried, oh, I don't want to replace it with something even more unhealthy. If I give up smoking and I start vaping, is that better? Or if I give up drinking and I start, I don't know, misbehaving with the neighbor or whatever. But the idea is that, yeah, you can find a healthy alternative. You can find what your body really wants, what is a real reward. And those are the things, the time with your kids, the time with your partner, the relaxation, the real relaxation at the end of the day, where you maybe do a bit of meditation and then you can switch off the work for the day and transition into the evening. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really, really powerful to hear your story. So what are the challenges ahead then? What's the future look like?
The future, I think it's when you feel like you've just kind of opened the door. You kind of open the door to maybe a new way of living, and I feel like I've been missing a trick for a long time. And I think alcohol is one of those things. Ultimately, I feel like so many people have got success wrong, and I want to play a part in helping people to redefine what success looks like. And in my particular case, in my community, helping really driven men, driven dads redefine what success looks like. And I have real ambitions to do that. And I feel like I've just woken up. Like I literally woke up 3 or 4 years ago and realized life's not for the future, it's for now, it's for today. And I've got lots of exciting plans to hopefully help a lot more people. Got some very interesting projects I'm working on, but we're going on a lot of family adventures, and that's a big thing. My eldest son wants to be an adventurer. All right, how cool is that? He wants to be an adventurer, and it's strange because, and I kind of look. Life was different. I'm 45, 40 years ago, right? And it was very different when I was growing up, when we were growing up, and I was encouraged to do certain things, encouraged to go into this professional career, encouraged to go to university, encouraged to conform, really. And I think it's amazing to learn, like, why can't my boy be an adventurer? Like, we're going to Ben Nevis so that he can experience adventure. And it's exciting, and he's so excited. So it's just that, yeah, why do we have to conform? Why don't we challenge perceptions and turn things on its head a little bit? And actually, what I mean, I've got a guy he's in my community, and he's joining I'm doing a reset challenge next week, right? And I'm doing a free challenge for people who are crazy busy and they know they need to step back. And I do this challenge, and it's always, I haven't got time to come, but people that come to the first day stay all week. It's 30 minutes a day. And one of my members has got this amazing business. He was voted last year the #1 entrepreneur in the UK. And he's got an amazing balance, and he's got a fantastic purpose, a clear purpose. And that throws things on their head, because you think, like, highly driven, highly successful, he would have no life. That's not true. That's not true. He's just chosen to believe that's not his reality. So, I know, a long way of saying I'm very excited about what's to come. But...
Well, I'm super excited about your journey as well. And you genuinely are an alcohol and freedom finder and an adventurer. And you're role modeling that for your son and for your community and for our community today as well. So we like to ask this of all of our guests. If you had 3 words that kind of encapsulate your AFF journey so far, what would they be?
I mean, definitely health. I definitely feel like with alcohol came other bad choices. So it feels like when I make one good choice, there's a ripple effect, and I make other good choices. I don't have that takeaway on the way home. So definitely health. I would say, like, freedom is a good way of putting it. I genuinely feel like quite liberated by going down this path. My final would be not conforming, actually. It just feels like it's quite nice to not conform. And I was invited to speak at an insurance conference with 400 people in Portugal last year. And I was one of about 3 people not drinking. But I came home, I'd been away for 4 or 5 days, and away from my children. My wife was holding the fort, and I was energetic when I came home. And I picked up the mantle. I wanted to see them. I was not lying on the couch. I felt like I'd had a reset, a rest. As well as doing my talks, I actually had a bit of downtime. So, yeah, not conforming. It's good to not conform.
I love that. Those are 3 really, really good takeaways for everybody. So if people would like to find out more about you and your group, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place is probably my website, ph7performance.com. Also, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can check me out on Tony Fields on LinkedIn, and I have a LinkedIn newsletter that's got quite a big following. So Performance Without Compromise. And look, if any of this resonates, come to one of my free reset challenges. It's a very good way to experience what it's like being part of a community for a week. My next one starts quite soon, but I find it's only when you step back you gain clarity.
That's really good. Yeah, we'll make sure that those are those links will be in the show notes. And I think it's so important for someone to, like you, to be giving an opportunity for men to share and a safe space to sort of to talk and realize that we're sort of as men we have the feeling that we're supposed to keep it all inside, we're supposed to keep it all together and be the provider, the strong one, and it's not what reality is. We need as much support and as much help and as much friendship and community as women do, and women are traditionally better at seeking it out and feeling okay about that. But I think it's really important for men too. So thank you for what you're doing.
And thank you for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation, and I love the sound of what you're doing. I'll be certainly sharing it with a lot of my connections.
Thanks so much, Tony. And you really are role modelling how to be a super dad and a superman.
Very kind of you to say. Thank you.